What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40K. So in this one, I'm going over what I believe might be the strongest creation that the Emperor has ever made. So for one, these are the 4 creations that I think are going to be pretty much up in the air as to who you think is the strongest. But of course, the Emperor created the Thunder Warriors. These were the genetically enhanced proto-space marines that were used to conquer Terra. They're fast, they're strong, they're bulky, and they are aggressive. They're essentially a version 1 of the Space Marines. Space Marines are faster, more efficient, more tactically engaging, and the Thunder Warriors, they're just brutes. Think of Ogrins, but if they were Space Marines. So that in and of itself is a very powerful force. I mean, hell, it took over Terra when there were techno-barbarian warlords and crazy shit going on during that time. So of course they are very powerful, but not as strong as the Space Marines. The Space Marines, I believe, are the pinnacle of the Emperor's creation. Even though he didn't create them by himself, Amar Astardi helped in their creation, and these are the Angels of Death. These are the warriors that the Imperium has basically used to get them out of any bind. They were good during the Crusade, and they're still good now in the 41st millennium. Another creation of the Emperor that I think is pretty powerful is that of the Adeptus Custodes. The Custodes are the Emperor's bodyguards, each warrior specifically crafted by the Emperor himself to become a powerful fighting machine. The reason why I don't think they're the strongest is because there's so few of them, but each one is worth its weight and more in just how powerful they are, how tactical, how smart, how efficient, and how much of a fighting force they actually are. A single custodian could take out 10, maybe 20 Space Marines and still continue to keep the fight going. Now, throughout the years, their power levels have kind of changed in variety. Sometimes an unarmed Khorne Berserker can take one out, other times they can take out 10 Space Marines without batting an eye, and other times a single custodian can almost stop an entire Tyranid tendril from taking over a planet. So yeah, the Custodes are strong as fuck, but not as strong as they should be at all times. There's no baseline there. Their power levels are just all over the place. And of course, let's not forget that we have the Primarchs. These, I believe many people will say that they are the strongest things that the Emperor has created. Each Primarch is a general, a tactician, an expert warrior, and much, much more. They were used to be the generals to lead the Space Marines and conquer the galaxy, not just Terra. So here we can already see that these warriors, because of course we have the missing Primarchs, and we have Alfarius and Omegon, so maybe there's only 18, 20, 21, but anyway, these Primarchs, a lot of people will agree in saying that they are the strongest, but I for one will say that no, the strongest entity created by the Emperor is that of the Space Marine. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at how Space Marines are created in the first place. Space Marines are not born. They are forged in the crucible of humanity's darkest depths. Recruits are not simply chosen. They are selected from the very best of mankind's killers, plucked from the twisted wreckage of a dying world. The most brutal and savage environments breed the deadliest of warriors. The Death and Pharaoh worlds among the Imperium are the most coveted recruiting grounds, where primal brutality and unspeakable hardship sculpts men into weapons of war. Creatures like the Space Wolves, hardened by centuries of bloodshed, is what they are after. But it is in the hive worlds that hold the greatest promise, for in their choking underworlds fester the most wretched, most lethal of humanity's outcasts. The lower levels teem with the scum of the Imperium, degenerates, criminals, murderers. Here, amid the filth and the rot, the sheer weight of humanity's numbers increases the odds of uncovering those few with the raw potential to become the Emperor's chosen. And so, whole gangs of depraved killers are hunted down, captured, and offered the chance to join the ranks of the Adeptus Astartes. These are but the rarest of recruits. Most chapters, though, prefer those who offer themselves voluntarily, driven by a madness or a lust for power beyond comprehension. And while aggression and an unholy killer instinct are the most coveted of traits, sometimes even the aristocracy submits their sons to the Marine chapters, desperate to bathe in the blood and glory and gain honor through noble sacrifice. The process of becoming a Space Marine begins long before the first organ is implanted into the recruit. It starts with the harshest of trials, meant to weed out the weak, and only a precious few survive to even approach the implantation phase. The chosen must be young, their bodies still capable of adapting to the horrific changes that await them. Only males are viable, for their genetic makeup and hormones are what are suited to the Emperor's twisted plan, its gene seed. Most will fail, and only a few are compatible with the gruesome alterations and the psychological conditioning required to become a Space Marine. The testing is brutal, designed to weed out the weak and break the strongest before they could even begin the process of becoming something else. The ritual of transformation is a grim one, beginning with tissue compatibility tests, followed by psychological assessments to ensure the recruit's mind is pliable enough to survive indoctrination. Once deemed worthy, they are inducted as aspirants, but their journey is still far from over. The implantation of the organs is a painful, invasive procedure that alters their very essence. As the process continues, they become neophytes, hollow shells of humanity, haunted by the knowledge that their bodies are no longer their own. Even after the horrific organs are embedded into their flesh, they remain inert until the cruel training and indoctrination takes hold. This process is relentless, each test, each procedure a step closer to something monstrous. The implants require constant attention. Chemical treatments, psychic conditioning, and hypnotherapy are all administered to ensure that the flesh is sculpted into something capable of unimaginable feats. Power armor is not merely a tool, but also a life support system. It's designed to monitor, control, and administer drugs to keep the implants functioning for the Space Marine. As their body transforms, so too does their mind, twisted by a constant sensory bombardment and psychological manipulation. And through hypnosis, the aspirant's body and mind are reprogrammed to endure more pain, more suffering, more horror than any sane person could even fathom. Through this, they learn to control their metabolism, their senses, and their very nerve endings. The body is now an instrument of war, but the mind, corrupted and altered, is just as dangerous. The mental alterations are terrifying in their scope. Marines can control pain with an iron will, enduring injuries that would tear ordinary men asunder. Their senses become so sharp that they can perceive the slightest of movement, and their minds operate at a speed that would drive lesser beings mad. And yet, as the final implant settles into place, one last question remains. What are they? After the endless modifications and alterations, after becoming more than human, more than machine, are they even human at all? Perhaps the truest answer lies in the fact that when the transformation is complete, they are no longer men. They are something far darker, a nightmare given flesh, bound to the will of an emperor long since lost to the void. They emerge as the angels of death. And with that being said, guys, that is basically an overview of how the Space Marine is created. They literally rip out children, adolescent boys, and force them to become killing machines with no remorse. Now, of course, this will differ slightly from chapter to chapter. Blood Angels, that has to do a lot more with blood, as you can already guess. And of course, there are successor chapters and other chapters out there that don't abide by the Codex Astartes, so the recruitment process can be pretty interesting. For example, that of the Exorcists, that literally take a demon and bind it into the Space Marine to see if they can outpower the chaos within. But before I go, I do want to ask you guys to leave the answer in the comments for me, and that question being, what do you think is the best creation of the Emperor? The Astartes, the Thunder Warriors, the Adeptus Custodes, or the Primarchs? So that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks again for watching, listening, commenting, sharing, and of course subscribing. And as always, this has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.
Oh, I used to put my